Hello everyone and welcome back to Genie Crafts, and in today's video we are going to see the part 3 of the multi-sided 3D light box of Christmas and Happy New Year theme. So we'll see how to build this light box. In the part 1 we have already seen how to design the blank template, and in part 2 of the video we have seen how to populate that blank template with the actual designs. So guys, let's get started with the part 3 of this video. So here is the printout of the template that I created in part 2 of the video. Although this was the first attempt at this template and the one that I showed you in my part 2 was the second attempt, so this was a little bit rusty and it didn't come out as accurate as I would have liked it to be, but still it served the purpose. So here the template, each layer has been clearly mentioned. It has been clearly mentioned what area to cut, and it has also been mentioned whether it is the front side, back side, left side, or the right side, or the top side. So the first step is to cut out each of the layers or each of the side for each of the cubes. So for that purpose I'm going to be utilizing 300 GSM watercolor paper, and I'll be using OLFA paper cutting knife to do the cutting because it's thick paper and it is going to provide me better control. So after you have affixed the template on top of your craft paper, which in this case is the watercolor paper, utilize your paper cutting knife to cut as per the directions on the template. So this particular side of the outer cube that I am cutting clearly mentions on the template that you have to remove the white area and keep the non-white areas, which in this case is the light gray and the black areas. So I'll be removing all the white areas. Since this will be a thick paper, so you'll have to put a little bit additional pressure to cut it accurately. Chances are that there will be undercutting at the corners and at the joints, so don't try to tear off your cutout area. Just check whether it is actually properly cut or not, so that you do not accidentally damage the design. Once you have cut the inner design, then next cut along the borders so that you can have your first cube, first side ready, which can be either of the sides between the front, top, left, right and back. Also you can see that I'm putting pressure marks around the folding crease so that later on you know where to score that line, so that you can create that folding flap to connect the sides together. And here is the first side cutout for the outer cube. Next is to score that flap so that we can fold it and make it ready to connect to the other sides of the outer cube. So for scoring, like you have seen in many of my videos, you can use any blunt pointed tool to score that line and create the crease onto the flap. So utilize that tool to create the crease and then gently fold it. Now there is no clear marking whether this is going to be a mountain fold or valley fold, but it's more or less common sense here because it's a very symmetrical object. So you can just utilize your perception of the cube and then fold it in the right direction. So in this case all the folds are going to be mountain folds for this particular design. Similarly, prepare rest of the sides for all the 4 cubes, and then we will proceed towards the assembly. So here are all the pieces for the outermost cube. There are 5 sides, which comprises of the left, right, back, front and the top, and then there is a base, and then there is a cutting for the light pole which will be situated at the center of the base and going through the center of the entire structure. To join all the pieces we are going to use regular Fevicol to connect the pieces together. So couple of things that needs to be noted here, because I have not seen anybody making this kind of light box structure. It's pretty new and I have thought of it to provide symmetrical light across all directions, hence the structure of the light pole at the center. So the first step is to connect the sides together, that is front, back, left and right. So maintain the sequence as you have put in your template, apply the glue on the flaps and connect it together. Once we are done with the sides, then we are going to connect the bottom of the cube and connect it together, assemble the light pole on it, or assemble the light pole beforehand and then connect the bottom. Either way it is fine. And once all that is done, we are going to keep the top aside for the very end assembly of the light box once we are done with all the other cubes, because we have to place one cube inside other. So the outermost cube top has to remain open till the very end. So this is how we are going to proceed forward with it. Now that we are done with the side, the next step is to create the light pole. So the big rectangle thing, the pole thing that you have cut out from the template, First we'll connect it together and then we will connect it to the base. So the process is very simple, just keep connecting the flaps to create the light pole structure. The hollow structure of the light pole will allow you to input wires to connect it to the LED strip, so that's why the structure is hollow, so that you can put the wires from the bottom and then connect it to the light strip that will be put around this entire light cube in a spiral fashion. Lastly, we need to connect this base to the remaining 4 sides. So once again, apply glue on the flaps and connect it to the sides. Just be very careful when you are connecting so that you do not accidentally damage the design, since the sides are already cut out. So be a little bit careful while you are doing that. I will just reiterate a couple of things. So once you have connected the base, you will see that there are 2 open points in the entire structure for the outermost cube. The top of the light pole is open, which will be closed at the very end when we are finally assembling, and also the top of the outermost cube is open because for that cube we need to keep it open so that we can insert the remaining cubes from the top. Also, you will notice in the template that the base light pole structure is only for the outermost cube. There is no base for rest of the cube because they are going to be put on top of this base. So no base is required for those cubes. So in a similar fashion, depending upon what parts are required for each of those inner cubes, prepare the cubes and then we'll proceed towards the assembly stuff. So the first step for the assembly is to prepare your light setup. So as you can see that I have this LED strip light. So take an appropriate length of the LED strip light which you are going to wind around this light pole. So all these LED strips have a adhesive side which is covered by a protective blue film. So before you start winding the LED on the light pole, you'll have to remove that protective blue film. Do not remove that blue film entirely in one go. Just remove slowly as you wind the strip around the light pole. Once you reach the top of the pole, stop and check if the LED strip is working properly. If it is working fine, then the next step will be to close the top of the pole and then pass the wire through that. In the top cover, create a square hole in between and then paste it on top of the light pole to cover the or close the top of the light pole. And once you have done that, then simply pass the wire through this hole, which later on you can connect to the additional circuitry. One issue that I encountered while doing this light setup was that this LED strip adhesive was not very strong, so it kept coming off the paper. So in that case, you can use some strong glue to stick it to the paper, or you can also use a double-sided tape to ensure that it remains stuck to the paper. Next, utilizing a strong adhesive and 5 mm thick Sunboard strips, I am going to be creating uniform gap between the cubes. So in my case, this gap was 5 mm between all the cubes. So between cube 1 and cube 2 on all the sides there is a 5 mm gap, and similarly for the next cube and for the next cube. So utilizing this strong glue, apply it on the Sunboard sheets and then stick it at the bottom of the cube where there is a buffer border that I have created just for this purpose. Similarly, do it on all the sides for all the cubes except the innermost cube, because for that there is no cube inside it, so it's not required. To start the assembly process, take the innermost cube, which will be the plain cube on which there is no design cut. This cube acts as a buffer to the light that will be coming from the center of it. Now place this smallest cube inside the next bigger cube, but do not push it all the way through because we have to create gap at the top also. So to do that, the process is very simple. We keep the base flush for all the cubes. So all the cubes are at level at the base, and with the help of the Sunboard strips, we will connect both the cubes at the base together, and the same process we are going to follow for the next cube and the next cube and the next cube. So once we have connected these two, then we are going to place these two together inside the next bigger cube and then inside the next bigger cube, and so on, depending upon how many cubes you have in your lightbox structure. Finally, once you have put all the cubes inside the outermost cube, then connect it at the base just like the other cubes and close the top, which has been open since the beginning of this entire structure that we have been making. So once you have put all the cubes inside, then you close the top of the outermost cube and your lightbox structure is complete. And once your structure is ready, connect your lightbox to a power source and see the magic. Now this lightbox has not come out exactly perfect as I would have wanted for a couple of reasons. When I took the printout got a little smaller because my original PPT slide size was bigger than A4, which I didn't take into account. So the 5 mm gap that I wanted to have didn't come out exactly the way I wanted, and the structure got a little here and there, so it's a little moving inside. It shouldn't actually move, it should be a steady structure. But overall, the effect that I wanted to achieve, I got it. Another factor that was gone wrong was that I had used a LED light with very high luminosity. I need to use a light with a little less luminosity because it was getting too much bright. So all these things you learn as you experiment. But for a first experiment of my own 3D multi-sided lightbox creation, this was really good, and this is a very good example for a Happy New Year and Christmas lightbox. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and you liked it. If you guys found this video useful, then please do not forget to hit the like button and share this video with your friends. Also to subscribe to my channel for regular videos on paper arts, and I will see you guys very soon in the next video. Till then, stay safe, take care, and bye bye.